What is up, everybody? We finally made it after weeks, months, all of that of waiting. We have finally made it to week one of the NFL season. My face looks super bright on that. Give me 1 second. There you go. Not still pretty bright, but we'll deal with it. We'll go on week one live. Thank you so much for watching the live stream. Really excited to be kicking off today with just a crazy amount of games we've got. I'm really excited for Patriots Raiders to start the day. We got Packers Lions at the 4:30 slot. Gonna cap off everything at night with Raiders. Not Raiders. Ravens Bills. I cannot wait for all of that. We're gonna dive into some of the games. We're gonna dive into inactive lists as they happen. Chris, the casual, thank you so much for watching. Will loves left hand prevent play action passing today. Question right out of the gate. Great question. Big fan of the question because it's something we've talked about a lot, right? Suffered a thumb injury in the preseason game. Has been a full participant in practice all week, but has had a brace on it. I was told by, well-sourced people that he had an internal brace procedure on that thumb. Which is essentially treating the UCL ligament, which I learned, you hear UCL, you think Tommy John and baseball. That ligament goes from your elbow up to your thumb, which I thought was fascinating. So it's the other end of the UCL ligament that he injured. You have an internal brace procedure. From what I was told, the recovery time on that lines up just about with today for week one. So I don't know if it's fully healed. It might be like 90, 95%. Truthfully, I'm not too worried about the preventing of play action passing with it. I think it's something they're going to work through. I think it's something they're going to be careful with. I don't think it's going to affect anything because he's honestly practiced it quite a bit. We only have like one, I think, footage rep we've seen, at least on social media, of him, handling, handoffs with his left hand. So very curious to see what happens there. But I'm not too worried about it. I think it should be still an entertaining game. I think he'll still be totally fine. We'll get back to the Packers-Raiders game. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. We will also go towards, asking fantasy questions if you have that betting advice. But I really want to start with the opening slate of games because the game I'm going to be watching most. And if you have questions about other games, feel free to ask. But, Raiders-Patriots is one I'm absolutely fascinated with. Mostly because it's two franchises that were really down on their luck the last few years, but there's a lot of hope and optimism with both of those franchises. And what I love most about this game I found out this morning, it's going to be a rainy one. The weather conditions are not great in New England for this game, which means we're going to get a lot of running, which excites me because I think two of the biggest names to watch in this game are Ashton Genty with the Raiders, and then with the Patriots, it's Travion Henderson. And I think Henderson's the bigger question. This is a guy who was listed as the RB3 on the Patriots depth chart. So in theory, he's not supposed to get a lot of reps. I refuse to believe he doesn't get touches and snaps this week. Everything he showed in the preseason and training camp is like, this is the ultimate culture guy for Mike Vrabel. This is a guy that started a fight in joint practice with, I believe it was the Commanders, for basically doing pass pro too hard. And that's what caused Vrabel to get in that scuffle in the fight and, get a bloody lip or whatever that was. I just absolutely love that, he's that kind of guy. I think Vrabel's absolutely in love with him. I mean, I am from the preseason tape. I did a full breakdown of him on the YouTube channel if you want to go back and watch that, because I thought his preseason tape, not just the running or that kickoff return touchdown, but his ability in pass protection, I imagine he's going to get on the field. And in a game like this, I think he's going to be heavily utilized. On the other side of the ball for New England, I'm very interested to see what that defense looks like. Heavily improved. I think Robert Spillane was one of my favorite free agency signings in all of football. Not a guy that gets talked about a lot, but you want to talk about like a really, really competitive player, linebacker that's legitimately unafraid. And I think the modern linebacker can be a little bit more, excuse me, I'm dealing with a little bit of a cold. I think the modern day linebacker can be, really athletic, but a little timid sometimes at the point of the attack. Robert Spillane is iconically unafraid. So I think him in the middle of that defense, I think they really upgraded a lot of positions I really like. I'm really excited to see how that all comes together. I think Milton Williams and Christian Barmore are really exciting up front. I'm very interested to see how the pass rush rotation goes because I liked Keon White. I thought he showed some flashes. Harold Landry is this older player, this older veteran that, has shown some flashes, or he was really good at times, but I think injuries are starting to catch up with him. But, Tennessee, Vrabel guy, I'm just curious to see how much he is utilized on this defense. But I'm just excited about that front. And I think the good news for the Patriots is that, yes, they're dealing with Christian Gonzalez being out, but the elements are going to make this a much less pass-friendly game. It's a good test for that secondary that's really unproven. I was really surprised they got rid of a lot of their safeties. It looks like they're going to be rolling with, according to their depth chart, a rookie, fourth-round rookie in Craig Woodson, and then Jalen Hawkins, who they acquired from the Chargers. I believe that was in free agency. So a really new look secondary that's going to be really tested, but in a more friendly environment for them with the elements. So really excited for that. Let's start getting into some inactives. Let's see what we can find on the Twitter. So give me a second as I get this pulled up. Let me just go ahead and share my screen for this as well while we get inactives coming in. Again, if you have questions, comments, any feedback, anything you want to see in future episodes, just let us know in the comments. Happy to share anything you guys have. We're going to share our screen. We're going to go to Twitter. This is TweetDeck for anyone that knows. They know. Like, this is how I use Twitter. Let's see. Darnell Mooney is out. That is an interesting one for the Falcons. This is a team I wrote about for SB Nation last week about, how excited I am for that offense, but Mooney's clearly dealing with some stuff this training camp. That means a lot of Drake London. It means a lot of Kyle Pitts, right? We're going to see how that goes. Let me go ahead and move to actual Twitter, make this a little more friendly for you guys. I know there's a lot going on. 1 second. Teebs, I saw your question. I'll get it up here in a second once I get this figured out. We'll get more comfortable with these as these go along. We're going to be doing these every Sunday at 11:30 Eastern. All right, we're going to Rap Sheet. Here we go. So we got Darnell Mooney out. Yeah, so expect a lot of Drake London, a lot of Kyle Pitts usage. I still think that offense will be able to air it out today. We've got Vita Vea active. That's a huge one for the Bucks. One of my favorite defensive tackles to watch just because of his size. Relieved to see Will Campbell's up. We just talked about the Patriots. They're going to probably run the hell out of the ball with Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson, Travion Henderson. All of those guys should get bumps in fantasy today just because of the elements and the usage. Like, yeah, they're splitting a backfield between three guys. I think they're running the ball a lot today. Then Raheem Mostert's healthy scratch. I imagine no one's too worried about that from a fantasy perspective. Teams we got. Do you start Thielen, Dubs, or Golden? Really good question. I imagine that's Adam Thielen, Romeo Dobbs, and Matthew Golden. I want to say Dobbs for against Detroit. Like, I think that secondary is unproven, at least at corner. I know the safeties are good. I'm going to go Matthew Golden, though. Like, I'm really timid about starting corners. Like, not starting corners, starting rookies, especially at wide receiver in fantasy. That being said, the fact that Golden's already listed as a starter, I thought he really shined in training camp. He wasn't getting a ton of work in the preseason, which tells me they feel pretty confident in what he's going to do. All of that leads me to believe, like, hey, I think he's going to have a real impact. And I think they're going to really try and use him as a vertical stretching option, which against the Lions in previous years, Jordan Love has shown that he can still do. Dusty Evely, who's a colleague of mine, if you follow him on Twitter, which you absolutely should, he has great cut-ups in the mornings. This morning, he had one of Love taking a deep shot to Christian Watson, getting behind the safeties. I think Golden has not only the ability to do that, but be an intermediate route runner, a guy that can be effective on now screens because of the way he moves. I think he can be effective at all three levels, and I think the Packers want to use him early and often. So if these are the three options in fantasy, I'm going Golden. If you follow my work too, I'm just obsessed with the guy. Didn't think he was going to be available for the Packers when they drafted him in the first round. So the fact they got him, the fact that they're clearly, leaning on him heavily this early, all of that points to, a big impact, I think, right away. So I'm checking all the alerts I've got so far, see what other inactives we got. Huge news for fantasy, including selfishly for me. Christian McCaffrey will play today. Thank goodness. That is a huge relief. Still a little worried, calf injury for, sorry, I'm all over the place. Calf injury for McCaffrey. He has bilateral Achilles tendonitis from last year. That is like the scariest thing you can hear for a running back, especially with how much he was out last year to suffer a calf injury in practice. But he was pretty adamant yesterday that he's going to play. Reports are coming out today that he will play. I know those 4:30 slots are really frustrating for fantasy when you're not sure if a guy's going to give it a go. But all signs are indicating that he will play. I imagine if he is that fine and they've really downplayed it, that like, hey, don't make a big deal of it. Let's just go. I'm expecting big things. Like he's McCaffrey. If you have him on your team, you drafted him early. Start your studs is always a motto I live by in fantasy. Don't overthink the good players, even if they have tough matchups. Because I think one of the bigger things that gets overlooked, I'm not a fantasy expert, but I casually play it, enjoy it. I think it's just usage matters. And McCaffrey is one of those guys that will get utilized heavily, early and often. Trying to look through other inactives that we are seeing. Package plays for Jackson Dart. That is interesting. I'm not going to watch that on the live stream, but I am a little questioning that. Travis Hunter cut his hair. I know that's the analysis that you guys really want to come in here for. Jameson Williams got paid. Trying to see any other inactives as they're coming in. We'll keep up in tabs with this as things are coming in. Let's go ahead and move it to the 4:30 game I'm most excited about, because that is obviously, you can see the jersey in the background. It is Packers-Lions. Just so much going on in that game today, because it is two really well-established teams, but at the same time, like, still a lot of unknowns. Like, the Packers had a lot of starters hurt throughout training camp, so we're not sure what's going to happen there. We've got, the Lions with losing their two top assistants. Go, Pack, go. Dang right. Losing their two top assistants in Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. Now we have Kelvin Shepard and Horton. Hold on. This is bad. Morton. I should know what the offensive coordinator of the Lions is at this point. John Morton. Those are the names that were like just huge replacements on the assistant coaches. They have already dealing with quite a few injuries. I believe Anzalone is out. Give me 1 second while I pull this up to confirm. The thing about going live, you can say a lot of things, but you got to make sure that you're right, unless you don't want to be. And then, there's plenty of people that do that kind of content, but that's not what this channel is about. If we're looking at injuries, Aleem McNeil is a pretty big one up front. Malcolm Rodriguez, who's, has really flashed. Enrique is out. Pascal is out. Trying to go through here more. Ennis Rakestraw is out. The corner they were pretty high on. It's a lot of names on the defense that are already injured. And then I guess Alex Anzalone is fine. I apologize on that one. But, we're going to have a rookie and Tyleek Williams up front with DJ Reader. Those are some new faces. Aiden Hutchinson's going to be back, which is, super exciting if you are a fan, of the Lions. But, I'm going to wait until I see it. I know it's a little dangerous to say that with a team like Detroit and how effective they were and how good their defense is. And, before he was injured, how dominant Aiden Hutchinson was. But I'm just like a little skeptical, like how bad that leg break looked, that like, is he 100% or will he ever be back to 100%? Like, truthfully, probably will be, but I'm going to reserve judgment until I see it. So a lot of unknowns. I think that's why I'm so excited about it. But the big question everyone wants to know about, how much is Micah Parsons going to play? It's a really good question. I'm obviously thrilled to see him in a Packers uniform, but we're going to see how much he plays. I believe this morning the report came out that they're going to treat the first 4 weeks of the season before the bye week like a training camp, utilize him as a pass rusher in obvious passing situations, but not much beyond that. I'm not sure how real that is. I mean, you have this superstar pass rusher. I think he's going to play more than like the reports coming out are suggesting. Like, I know he's dealing with a back injury. I don't think it's that serious. I just think that he is going to be, he's going to be an impactful player right away for the Packers. I think that's going to open up Rashawn Gary. If you're looking for a fun bet today, I'm taking Rashawn Gary 1+ sacks. I think so much attention is going to Micah and everything, and there's been talk about Lucas Van Ness shining in training camp. I really think Gary is getting overlooked because I thought he was a pretty solid player that really got comfortable, especially stopping the run last year. I think we forget that, like, when he's fully healthy, he can be a pretty dangerous pass rusher. So keep that in mind. I'm excited to see what we can get there. There is a lot to be excited about with this pass rush, which is funny because, that was the big concern heading into the offseason is what is this pass rush going to look like? Despite being a top 10 defense by DVOA, they were just really struggling to rush the passer with 4. So I'm really looking forward to that game. Again, thank you to everyone that's watching. If you have any questions, comments, if you need fantasy advice, If you want to ask my stepbrother, who is currently getting his ass kicked by me in fantasy, why he's so bad at fantasy football, feel free to ask that. We've got all kinds of things that we want to talk about. We can move to the night game, and then we'll, break down some other stuff, look through the schedule. But, Ravens Bills is obviously the game everyone wants to watch tonight. I mean, how can you not be excited for that? It's the two top MVP candidates from last year. And there's not too much different with either of these teams. But I think one of the things that I'm really excited to see is how is Josh Palmer going to incorporate himself into this Bills passing attack. I really like Khalil Shakir. I think he's one of the more underappreciated slots in the league. I think he is just such a reliable option. I think his catch rate when targeted is something just absurdly high. But I'm also a little worried about Keon Coleman. Like, this is a guy that struggled separating at the college level. Still a pretty solid player, like a contested catch guy. I think there's a lot that he can do to get involved in the passing game. Excuse me. But there's just so much to be excited about with that passing game. If Palmer can take a step, make Coleman the jump ball guy, but not a reliable, not the right word, an option that you need to depend on. Give me 1 second. Apologies when you're dealing with a cold. I don't want you guys to see some things that are going on. Tease, we got a question. You think Jobs Jacobs gets the 126 yards he needs to be the third fastest to reach 7K yards in his career? Really good question. I think that is an interesting one because I think the front seven for the Lions is very depleted. I thought Aaron Glenn, when they dealt with far more injuries than they were dealing with last season, I think that was a guy that, that a defense that was still outperforming. So, you can say injuries, but they were still able to step up. Reader and Tyleek Williams, I was super high on Tyleek as a prospect in the draft. I am interested by those, but the second level defenders worry me a little bit. I know Jack Campbell is, coming along. Alexander Lindley's solid, but I think there's opportunities to really gash this. And I think one of the things the Packers are good at is, even if it's not going great early, they still run it often, and you can wear down a defensive front by doing that. So 126 yards is a lot for me. I'm going to probably say no. I think he gets it by next week, but I think he gets close. I think he's going to be a crucial part of the offense this week. So we'll see what happens there. Let's see if we have any more inactive updates while we're going through all of this. Jameson Williams got that extension last night. Good for him. Very fun option. It was 3 years, 83 million with 67 million guaranteed. Did have a really good year. I loved the way Ben Johnson utilized him. Honestly, some crosser concepts. They loved dagger. A lot of stuff that they really enjoyed. Interesting. Xavier Hutchinson planning to get in some reps today for the Texans. Surprises me a bit. I thought, even with injuries, I thought Jalen Knoll and Jaden Higgins, the two Iowa State guys they drafted, were going to have bigger roles this season. Just trying to look real quick here, but I guess Christian Kirk's out. It looks like Braxton Berrios will likely be out. Very interested in that one. Is that another Iowa State guy too? Xavier Hutchinson? Looking it up real quick. Give me 1 second. Yeah, another Iowa State guy. They love their Cyclones in Houston for some reason. Not there's anything wrong with that. I really enjoyed Jalen Knoll and Higgins in the draft. I thought both were real technicians. Little fun fact too, if you are a Packers fan, because I know we have a heavy Packers audience here. The coach at Iowa State, the receivers coach for Higgins and Knoll, was also the receivers coach at North Dakota State while Christian Watson was there. So I thought that was a neat little thing to learn about. Apparently they have a little bit of a relationship because of that. So thought that was interesting. Surprised we don't have more inactive lists coming out. I'm sure I'm just not seeing them. If you want to give me a second, I will try and find some more. But in the meantime, again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. If you're a draft junkie, we do have membership option, $2.99 a month, exclusive access to my big board, which will be, filled out throughout the year. I'll have to actually give you guys a sneak peek of it right now, as far as what you're looking at. $2.99 a month for all of my notes on everything. So, I've only have, 18 players graded so far, but I've got notes on, all kinds of receiver players I've not graded yet, as I watch them throughout the season. But this is a living, breathing document. So what you're getting is not like a draft guide, but more so you're watching the process in real time throughout the year as I'm getting notes on guys. So, I'm really high on Ruben Bain so far. You can see that as the pre-draft process updates. You'll see, relative athletic scores on here. You'll see some insight I have. I'll include notes I hear from sources on this board, but I used to share this publicly, but with the channel, I thought this is a great way to get members involved and have more, see kind of what the draft process is like from someone that attempts to grade 200 players a year. So great opportunity for that. You can actually find details to become a member in the description of this live stream. Great opportunity for you. But again, happy to answer any questions you might have in the chat, anything like that. We're going to go and keep looking for inactives lists. Doesn't seem like there's any other big news right now, which we'll take. I hate injuries. No one likes them, regardless of if it's your opponent or not. There's some fans that root for injuries, but trying to look through here. Raiders inactives came out. Caleb Rogers, the 3rd round pick, will not be playing. Charles Grant, I believe he's a rookie as well, out of William and Mary, won't be playing. Nothing too shocking, though. Rogers, I watched a little on tape when I was doing my Ashton Genty video, which you can see on YouTube. Thought he really struggled. I am a little bit worried about that Raiders offensive line. So there's Colt. He's stoked to hop on the live stream. Thanks, Colt. Sorry that you suck at fantasy. He's currently getting smoked by me this week. Mostly thank you to Travis Kelce, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. Colt, how are Dak Prescott and Omarion Hampton going so far? Seems like you're really enjoying that one. There's still plenty of time for him to come back, but it's fantasy. I love talking crap. If you're not talking, smack, what are you doing in fantasy? Not seeing too many other notable inactives from everything we've seen so far, but a lot of really good stuff to be excited about this week. So many games. I'm going to go ahead and call it from here, but thank you so much for watching today. Currently a little bit under the weather. We will do a little bit longer of a one next week, but this will be the format going forward. Asking questions, talking about stuff. I'll talk about a few of my favorite matchups every week. If there's any big things the night before from college football, we'll go over those. And if I can get film, I will also add that to the streams, which is always a fun thing to do. The week of games I missed yesterday, I was out until the night. Go Pack Go. Amen. Could not agree more. Thank you so much for watching, though, everybody. We'll be back next week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is the video cadence. Might be talking Jihad Campbell either today or Wednesday, to be determined from what I can see today. But we have quite a bit ready to talk about Jihad Campbell, the Eagles rookie linebacker. How he did it again, man. He really did. And we'll talk all about that potentially tomorrow. Unless something big I really like from this slate of games comes. But thanks again for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoy the first NFL Sunday of the year. And have fun today. Go Pack Go.